West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel St. Patrick Hewitt. And as the thumbnail suggests and as the title suggests, we're looking at the West Indies Academy side. Now, let me just apologise first things first, because so much cricket has happened during and since the dual tour of England and the UK and Ireland by both the men's senior team, the women's senior team, and it's we went from the breakout league to the England and the UK and Ireland tour for the men, the UK tour for the women. The Sri Lanka Emerging side came to the Caribbean to play West Indies Academy. The women flew back home to start limited over series versus South Africa women. And then Australia are currently in the Caribbean facing the senior men. Non-stop cricket. And then this is before we even talk about CPL. So I'd written down recently in topics to cover, and I was like, I haven't even got to the Academy tour. I haven't even had a chance yet to talk about the Academy, but they have just completed their series, their tour. Tour's wrong word. Their series against Sri Lanka Emerging side, and it's been successful. It's been successful. I have always been a big advocate of one of the reasons why I don't overreact when the West Indies men's senior side loses is because I've been saying to people for the longest while, and you can go check the archives of past episodes and stuff. I've always said there's only so much you can expect from this current generation of the West Indies senior side. Like expecting them to do things like dominate Australia. Well, in fairness, you could argue for the first 2 days of their first test, we were definitely 50-50. But to expect them to regularly dominate against the best teams in world cricket, I think is a nonsense, right? Or compete even. And I've always said that the best hope for West Indies fans is to start to pay attention to the academy and the setup of the academy and look. So most of those guys in the academy right now are somewhere between 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And I've always said that the academy is the way forward, because whilst I'm not trying to make claims that they've got the best facilities in the world and they've got a setup that is the envy of anybody else in the world, even at its base core, like take away every other advantage or benefit that the academy brings to the boys and girls that are situated over in Antigua. At its base core, the biggest benefit the academy brings is, I've nearly lost my train of thought here. The biggest benefit the academy brings is by the time the likes of Akimo Geese, Rivaldo Clark, Carlo Bowen-Tuckett, they will have played more professional first-class games at a younger age than the likes of Django have at the age of 28, 29, 30, if you catch my drift. That's a really long-winded way of explaining it. But what has plagued West Indies cricket in recent years is that our players get to 28, 29, 30. So think of someone like a Kabem Hodge, right? Think of someone like an Akil Hussain, Carl Mayers, etc. By the time they matriculate and by the time they reach their true form, they're already in their late 20s, early 30s, a lot of the West Indian players, right? Which means you only have a finite number of years left before they're due to retire or maximize their profits by going into white ball cricket, etc. The major benefit of the academy is the fact that these players are getting loads of game time opportunities at a much younger age, which I think should, in theory and on paper, mean that they mature a lot quicker than your average West Indian player has over the last 10 years or so. It should ensure that these academy players know their game at a much younger age than your average West Indian international by the time they play for the senior side. So that notwithstanding, like I say, the academy played Sri Lanka Emerging side in 2 4-day games and 3 50-over games. So first things first, in the 4-day games, if I just find the results for you. So in the first 4-day game, if I just scroll to find it, here we go. So in the first 4-day game, Sri Lanka Emerging players won by 75 runs. All these games are played at CCG. So they won that. West Indies had to chase 298 to win. They were bowled out for 222. So Sri Lanka Emerging players won that first game by 75 runs. Okay, cool. By the time they played the second four-day game, West Indies Academy won it by an innings and 26 runs. They made 374, and then Sri Lanka made 241. Sorry, Sri Lanka made 241. Wait, who batted first? Actually, I need to remind myself who batted first in that game. I think Sri Lanka batted first. Either way, Sri Lanka made 241 and 107 all out. West Indies Academy made 374 and ended up winning by an innings and 26 runs. So they shared the four-day game. In the 50-over games, Sri Lanka won the first one by 5 wickets with 62 balls to spare. West Indies making 237. Sri Lanka chasing it down with the loss of 5 wickets, 238 for 5. In the second one, West Indies Academy won by 19 runs. They made 290 for 9 in their 50 overs. Sri Lanka Emerging players made 271. And then in the final 50-over game, West Indies Academy won by 7 wickets with 155 balls remaining. They bowled Sri Lanka out for 144 in 35 overs and then chased it down in 24 overs for the loss of 3 wickets. So like I say, across the piece, 1-1 in the 4-day games, 2-1 in the ODI games. Now, I'm not going to use this video here to dissect each game and talk about this and talk about that. All I really wanted to do, based on the highlights that I watched and some of the live footage that I watched of the different games, is talk about, so who were the standout performers? So if we deal with the 4 days first, the standout performers you had in that, Rivaldo Clark scored 135 runs in the series at an average of 68. Just double check with Rivaldo actually if he played. So Rivaldo played both matches. So he scored 135 runs at 68 with 150 in there, high score of 57 out. Akeem Geist scored 173 runs in the 2 games at an average of 58 with 2 50s in there. Dindial scored, he played 1 match and scored 82 runs. And then Carlin Bowen-Tuckett, the wicketkeeper, scored 100 runs at an average of 33. They were the standouts with the bat in the series. Okay. Now, and that's Mavendra, by the way, Dindial. So none of that is for me to say, because obviously when I do this, it can come across like I'm saying, just look at the scorecard and that will tell you who did well. But we are just highlighting who were the standouts in these particular games. With the ball, Kelvin Pittman took 12 wickets at 11 apiece. I'm fairly certain everybody paid attention and watched the highlights of his 7 for 28 in one of the innings in the 2 4-day matches. Nathan Edward. Now, those of you who know me should know that I've got stocks in Nathan Edward. Left arm seamer. I'd love him to be a bit quicker, but it is what it is at this stage of his development. Technically, you know what, if Nathan watches this, he'd probably say, no, Mash, I'm an all-rounder, and he can bat. I won't try and deny that Nathan can't bat, but Nathan is primarily, in my eyes, a seamer. He's a bowling all-rounder as opposed to a batting all-rounder or a bit of both. I see him as a bowling all-rounder. So he took 12 wickets at 13. He had a fifer in his matches as well. You may remember Nathan taking a fifer in the Breakout League recently. So in one innings, he took 6 for 23. Joshua Bishop disappointed me, actually, across the ODIs and the 4-day matches. At this stage of Josh's development, and maybe it's me putting too much pressure on him, but I expect him to dominate every academy game he plays. I think he's at that level of matriculation where he should now be dominating. Everyone's allowed an off day, but I think he had an off series in general. 6 wickets at 34. I mean, it's not a disaster, but I'm so used to Josh having top-tier performances every time he plays that it's a shock when he doesn't. So they were the standout bowlers. Now, Kelvin Pittman, for those who don't know, is a proper fast bowler. When I say proper, as in he can crank it. So it was good to see him laying down the Sri Lankans, taking a 7 for 28. But I'm not the type of guy who's now going to say to you, we should watch out for Kelvin Pittman. He's the truth. He's the real deal. No, I want him to continue that. I want him to back that up. The next time the academy are in action, whether that be Super 50, whether that be some other tour that they've got arranged, I want to see him back that up with further performances, because I'm yet to, in my mind, see the level of consistency that makes me say, right, I've got stocks in Kelvin Pittman now. But we have to salute the performance in the 4-day matches. But I'm still searching for that consistency for Pittman. Whereas Nathan Edward, I do think I am seeing consistency across formats, whether that be T20, whether that be 4-day, whether that be 50 overs. He's given me that level of consistency that I'm looking for. Okay. In terms of the batters, interesting because Teddy Bishop, like Josh Bishop, Teddy Bishop had a poor time of it across the 50 overs and the 4-day games. And I've always looked at Akeem Orgeese and Teddy Bishop and said, right, one of those two, if not both, are going to play for West Indies in the future. Now, obviously, people are going to get the comments go, no, but Teddy Bishop's already played for the West Indies. Yeah, back in Australia, that should never have happened. That should never have been allowed to happen. I want to know what the rationale was for giving Teddy Bishop a debut in Australia. That's the type of backwards lack of developmental thinking that West Indies show from time to time, right? But I've always looked at Akeem Orgeese and Teddy Bishop and said, yeah, I can see how within the next 4 years, 3 to 4 years, one of you is playing regularly for the West Indies. I don't know which one it's going to be. In fact, I'm intrigued to know, based on people watching this, who do you see as the better batter of the two? Right now, just based off the Sri Lanka series, Akeem Orgeese is back in the lead again. There's been times where I've looked at Teddy Bishop and said, he's the one who's the better of the two. He's the one that's going to matriculate quickest, but maybe it's actually Akeem Orgeese. I don't know. In this series, like I say, Akeem Orgeese was the top scorer in the West Indies team across the 4-day matches with 173 runs at 58. But crucially, Akeem also performed in the ODIs, scoring 123 runs in the ODIs, the 3 ODIs, at 41 apiece. Again, for me, consistency is the name of the game. It's not about one-off performances for me. I'm looking to see who can back performances up more often than not. My only issue with Akeem was that sometimes he was well set and he seemed to just lose concentration and give it away. I think Akeem should be disappointed. Yes, he played the 2 4 days and the 3 50 over matches. So that's 5 matches and he scored 3 50s across the 2 formats, right? I think there was at least 100 in there. He left runs on the pitch that he should have scored because he should have got 100. He was in good nick, and I think he should feel disappointed that he didn't leave the 2 series with at least one century. Okay, so that's if no one scored a century in across any of the games. So I mean, you could argue there's a bit of a disappointment in that. In terms of the ODIs now, so in the ODIs, obviously West Indies won that 2-1, especially brilliantly, especially after going down 1 game at the beginning and then coming back strong to the point where they won the last one by 7 wickets with 155 balls remaining. That was played at Sir Viv. Now, with that, again, looking at the balls, Jadea Blades, 6 wickets to play 2 matches of the 3, 6 wickets at 14 with 1 fifer. Was it a fifer? Let me just double check that. 5 for 28 with 1 fifer in there. Nathan Edward played 2 matches, 4 wickets at 23. Micah McKenzie, the young leg spinner who impressed in the Breakout League, took 4 wickets at 25. I missed out Matara. Sorry, Matara played one of the 4-day matches and took 4 wickets. And then he played one of the 50-over matches and took 3 wickets in one of the 3 for 19 in one of the 50-over matches as well. So Zishan Matara and Micah McKenzie, they're 2 of the Ute men leg spinners coming up through the system. We watch them carefully. Again, like the Teddy Bishop and Akeem Orgeese conversation, one of McKenzie or Matara is going to end up playing for the West Indies within the next 3.5 to 4 years. It's going to be interesting to see which one of those 2 wins the race first. But they're clearly, for me, the best 2 Ute men leg break bowlers in the Caribbean. So they were the standout bowlers in the 4-day matches. Then with the bat in the 4-day matches, interesting to see the same names come up again. Carl and Bowen-Tuckett, 130 runs at 65 apiece with 2 50s in there, a strike rate of 96. There's a lot of people that have got stocks in Carl and Bowen-Tuckett. I think the next thing that has to happen for Bowen-Tuckett is, I mean, he's only 21 years old, right? He's from Nevis, Carl and Bowen-Tuckett. I think the next thing that needs to happen for me with Bowen-Tuckett is he's played 20 first-class matches now and 15 list day matches, right, in his career. And most of this, if not all of it, is all for the academy. This is what I'm talking about. Now, look how he's 21 years old, and look how much experience Carlin Bowen-Tuckett has had already just by playing for the academy. So when I say to people the academy has been brilliant as a intervention in West Indies cricket, someone like Carlin Bowen-Tuckett's the perfect example. He has got a level of experience he would otherwise not have, because he wouldn't have played for Leeward Islands by now. Maybe he would have done. Probably he wouldn't, because he's a wicket keeper and Jabbar Hamilton's in his way and Jewel Andrew probably in his way. So he's played a certain amount of cricket for the academy, which has been brilliant for him. He's played 20 first-class games now, Bowen-Tuckett, and averages 34 in first-class cricket, 105 50s. Okay, I mean, what more words can I say? It really showcases to me the importance of the academy. So Bowen-Tuckett showed form again. Sorry, I didn't even finishing my point. At what point does Bowen-Tuckett stop playing for the academy and starts to get called up by the Leeward Islands? Probably no time soon, but at some point, surely that's got to come into the conversation, or another franchise, whatever it might be. He doesn't even have to play as a wicketkeeper. Might be able to just play as a straight batter, could he not? Who else are we talking about? Rivaldo Clark, the Bayesian, 125 runs at 63 apiece. He also scored 250s, and again went at a good strike rate of 92 across the two 50-over matches that he played. Just bringing up some stuff for Rivaldo Clark. Bear with me, people. I want to just check something for Rivaldo. Again, Rivaldo's 22 years old. He's had some game time for the Barbados Royals and St. Lucia Kings. But again, is he likely to play any first-class matches for Barbados anytime soon? No. So again, the academy has been critical for people like Rivaldo Clark to just get a level of experience that he otherwise would not have had if the academy wasn't there. And by the time one of the first-class teams eventually pick him up, he should be able to mature a lot quicker than the average West Indian player does. Like I said, Akeem Orgees, 123 runs at 41. Now, interestingly, in these ODIs, Jewel Andrew opened. Now, I haven't spoken to Ramesh, and I should have probably asked Ramesh before recording this particular episode. But you have to assume that the reason why Jewel Andrew opened is because that tells me that when Jewel opened for the senior side in England, that was at the time I said, we might as well do it because we need a pinch hitter. And who was injured at the time? Evan Lewis was injured, I think it was. And I said, we might as well open with Jewel. And lots of people cussed me and said, no, that was the wrong thing to do. You shouldn't be doing that to an 18-year-old. It's quite interesting to me that when he came back now to play for the academy, Jewel opened. So is that Darren Sammy and Floyd Reefer and the senior staff saying to Ramesh, you know what, we want Jewel to develop as an opener. We see him as being able to be someone who can play as an opener in the future. Make sure he plays in that position for the academy. I have to assume so, because it was quite interesting to see that that's who they picked to open in the 50-over games. And I'm not saying he had a fantastic time of it. He certainly went at a good strike rate of 94. Where's Jewel? Here he is. He's got a top score of 45. Strike rate of 94 and average 28. Now, of course, some might say to you, Mash, when Jewel comes back to play for the academy, he's supposed to show that he's a top-tier player at all times. Yeah, I hear that. But I was more intrigued about the positioning more than anything else. So those were some of the standout things. Like I say, I'm not here to deep dive and go and let's look at this and let's look at that. This is more an episode to just let people know there was an academy series, and did anyone actually pay any attention to it? Now, of those names that I called, the Bowen-Tucketts, the Clarks, the Orgees, the Jewel Andrews, the Blades, Nathan Edward, Michael McKenzie, Zishan Matara, Mavindra Dindal, who also is Kelvin Pittman, Josh Bishop. Can we see any of those players? Two questions I've got here. And again, get in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Can we see any of those players, A, maturing out of the academy to be picked for their senior first-class nation anytime soon? So, for example, I don't see it, but for example, will we see a Joshua Bishop, play for a senior side now instead of the academy in the next round of Super 50 or first class championship? Will Matara play for Barbados? Unlikely, but you never know. Will Michael McKenzie play for the Leeward Islands? Unlikely, but you never know. Will Nathan Edward get a game? Will Blades be called up? There's so many of these talented academy players, but how? I guess my question is, and again, I should get Ramesh on the show to answer: how long do we keep them in the academy for, or do we do? I've always said we should do: never let them leave the academy and actually let them continue to get guaranteed game time in the academy against the senior guys to develop their game so that they mature quicker at a younger age, and they continue to play these academy series at home versus this team, away versus this team, giving them experience across a range of grounds, a range of overseas experiences. And what I'd love to know next, because obviously Cricket West Indies people watch this, where are the academy going next? Because the next thing for the academy is to arrange an away tour. Where they go next? Last year they came to Ireland to play some games. This year they've had Sri Lanka come to them. Who's next? Where do they go next to further their development and learning skills? We had some of them go off to India to go work on that spin camp. Where are we taking these young guys next to help them develop and hone their talents so that they mature at a much quicker rate than all these previous generations of players that everyone loves to cuss? Who's the standouts for you? Who's the guys in this academy side that you see and say they can take West Indies forward 4 years from now, 3 years from now? I might be asking too much, but these are the questions we've got to ask all the same. Like I say, I'll reach out to Ramesh. I'm sure Ramesh has probably watched this episode, and if Ramesh is who I think he is, he's going to say to himself as he's watching this, Mash, you didn't mention this point, you didn't mention that point. Remember what Ramesh said the last time he came on Caribbean Cricket Podcast. The academy is much about the whole scale, or whole scale, is that the right word to use? It's as much about the wider development of the character in addition to their cricketing skills, to make sure that when these cricketers mature and get to the senior stage of cricket, whether domestically or at the international level, they have been developed in their whole package has been developed, as opposed to just, okay, you played in the academy, you scored some good runs, and now you're just ready for the West Indies team. How have we developed the whole cricketer beyond just, can you score runs? Can you take wickets? It's about, what do you do in these situations? Where's your head going when you're in this particular situation? Can you bat 100 balls? Are you able to bat an entire session? Can you go 2 sessions? And like, all of these things are part of the wider development tool. I've always said we shouldn't be judging the academy side on how many matches they win. Certainly not in the domestic competitions. But I do think that when they get to play the overseas teams in some of these games, whether it be South Africa, Ireland, Sri Lanka, whatever, I do think that's a better metric for their development across the equivalent emerging players than it is against the senior guys in our domestic competition. But like I say, I'm not saying I've got the answers. Let me know in the comments below, people. Let me know what you think about all of that. I'm intrigued to see who's been paying attention and who have you got your stocks in and why. As ever, Caribbean Cricket Podcast people, like, share, subscribe. We're on all the social media handles: X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Have I said that already? Twitter, etc. You just search Caribbean Cricket Podcast. We're everywhere. Like the platform, share the platform, subscribe to the platform. And if you'd like to support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast financially, if you can spare anything, head to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. You can also head to the Buy Me a Coffee page, which you've just set up. That's in the link below. You can use the super chat, super thanks function, which is on YouTube, if that's what you prefer to do as well. And if you're somebody who likes to bet on sport, and you want help with that, or you're always into the latest data-based high-tech data algorithms that helps really crunch the data and allow you to know what the best trends are, what the best bets are in the market, head to our sponsors, Parlay Pros. Again, in all the information in the descriptor below to register your interest. They are the guys when it comes to really giving you high quality insight into the market, and if you should lay flutters down. If you're involved in all of that stuff, though, please, I beg, be responsible with all of that, because don't get into that type of stuff if you know you have no level of control. Like I say, all the descriptions are in the link below. Please show your support. And I'll be Machel St. Patrick Hewitt, one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. We'll be back tomorrow, probably with a live show. See you then.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.